Convicted felon and adjudicated rapist Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, who has put the Declaration of Independence proudly in his office, does not know what it means.
You have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there.
Okay. Come on. Even like a middle schooler civics person can tell you better than that. I mean, this guy, he either doesn't know, doesn't care, all of the above. He has no knowledge of how the government functions. Nor does he care. Nor does he care. He doesn't care about the three branches of government. Had he asked him about the three branches of government, that would have been something I wanted to see. But it means love and unity. That's what it means. I mean, what a moron. Okay, so I have to go back to, I know everybody's tired of talking about tariffs and the economy, but it's so important that we realize who is making the economic policy. It's a bunch of dipshits. So when Trump at his cabinet meeting was asked about it, here's what he had to say.
Mr. President, when will you speak to President Xi of China?
That'll happen. I mean, look, right now, and I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty because their factories are not doing business.
Okay, China's reporting over and over that is not true. They're not taking Trump's calls. Like, they're icing him out and he's sitting there lying. But, you know, what else is new? Okay, go ahead.
$1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion with Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way. They have ships that are loaded up with stuff, much of which, not all of it, but much of which we don't need.
Okay. This coming from a man who has a gold toilet. What on earth is he talking about? He knows by virtue of that question that the shelves are getting ready to be empty. And his response is, well, we don't need it. Can you imagine if Barack Obama or Joe Biden had the shelves empty because of the tariffs, what he would be saying? This is absurd. And to say, well, might cost a few bucks more. This is somebody who inherited $500 million. So why does he care what anything costs? And two toys instead of 30. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is the man running the U.S. government. This is the man that's in charge of our economic future. This is the man who is destroying the American brand, who China is sitting around laughing about because they're going and they're making all these alliances to ice out the United States, and he has no answers. But the New York Post I just had to bring this to everybody's attention. I thought it was so funny. Trump admits tariffs will raise prices, cause shortages. Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30. Skimp on the Barbie, and it has a picture of Trump talking with his hands, which means he's lying from what I've been told, and a Barbie doll. This is so absolutely ridiculous coming from a man that inherited $500 million. He's telling us, well, the shelves will be empty. You'll have to pay a couple dollars more. You know, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. Wasn't it like groceries was a new word for him? And he was so excited to introduce the price of eggs are going down, which is a lie. It's unbelievable. It's just an island of misfit toys. And then you think about, okay, now we're talking about prices. Let's talk about air traffic. Let's talk about what's going on in the skies of the United States, because we know Elon Musk went in and gutted the FAA because they were investigating him. So when asked about it, here's what Trump said, and I think they call this a word salad.
They did old equipment in new equipment, and you can't hook in old equipment to new equipment because it's different. Some is satellite and some is ground. The satellite doesn't work. This man would know that better than anybody, but you can't hook up a satellite system to a ground wired system. And if you do, you're wasting a lot of money. They spent billions, this is Buttigieg, they spent billions and billions of dollars trying to patch a system together. They had hundreds of different contractors, and the contractors were all fighting with each other. We're going to have one great big contractor, like the great big beautiful bill.
The great big beautiful bill. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, Starlink is the one great big beautiful contractor. At least that was what was originally reported. So let's talk about this. Pete Buttigieg, he had all these contractors. He was trying to update the system. He wasn't having plane crashes every other minute either. Like, this man has never flown commercial. He would not know commercial flight if it bit him in the ass. And he is sitting there doing some word salad about contracts or, old satellite, ground satellite. It makes absolutely no sense. It is absolutely unintelligible. And this man has appointed the people that are in charge of us every time we go up in the air. And that is terrifying. So back to the tariffs, have to mention them again. So you have General Motors saying that they're probably going to have to increase prices because of Trump's tariffs. So let's put this up.
Stephen, this morning GM is putting a dollar figure on how much the president's tariffs will impact the company. The CEO says tariffs will cost GM between $4 and $5 billion this year. The CEO of Ford says he can't commit to not raising prices because of tariffs. Is the administration open to doing more to give automakers relief?
The question, unfortunately, misses the entire point, which is that U.S. automakers have announced dramatic investments and expansions inside the United States.
Okay, here's the problem with that. Number one, all of these great investments and expansion will take years. Stephen, we're talking about this year. Ford and GM are saying it's going to cost billions of dollars this year. And what you're doing with your ugly face is you're lying and acting like, oh, well, we're going to put an investment in American products. They're outsourcing parts. This is ridiculous. This makes no sense. And you have MAGA going, I'm sure on Fox News going, oh, well, it's American made. Yeah, 5 years from now, if this plan works, but what are you going to do this week, Billy, when your truck breaks down? It's just... don't believe your eyes, don't believe your pocketbook, believe what I say, authoritarian regime is in full meltdown mode because they are in charge of the economy. It's tanking. They're trying to blame Biden. People know that's not true. People need to understand Trump is creating chaos on purpose because he wants to consolidate power and have industry come sit at his feet. And he wants an oligarchy to be in full force and effect. This is happening right now. We have got to stand up against it. And then I just want to set the stage for everybody. The GDP is going down. Stocks in free fall. Costs are up. We're getting ready to have huge supply chain issues. We're getting ready to have empty shelves. So what does MAGA go to? Well, naturally, we're talking about Biden being incompetent, which I'm like, dude, you're incompetent. Like, you are the most incompetent president I've ever seen in my life because you not only are incompetent yourself, you surround yourself with incompetent people. So they pick on Biden, and now they're picking on trans people, going to the lowest common denominator because they know their base loves it. These people are so cruel. It's almost like they don't care that their prices are going up as long as you're being mean and ugly about trans people. So here we have, because everything Trump touches turns to dog shit, Stephen Miller up on the podium at the White House press briefing is talking about schools doing sex changes.
Applies to our whole K through 12 system. The Department of Justice is also coordinating with state and local law enforcement to fight child abuse in our school systems. It is child abuse to change a child's gender, particularly if you do not inform the parents. In other words, if a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old goes to school, or a 7-year-old goes to school, and the teacher tries to turn the boy into a girl or the girl into a boy, that is child abuse. And this administration is treating that as child abuse.
Okay, here's the deal. Number one, that is not happening. You cannot get an aspirin at school without a parent's permission. So do not talk to us about whacking weenies off. You're talking about this because the economy is in a shithole, because we're getting ready to have shortages out the kazoo. And Stephen Miller, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, but I understand that being part of the Trump administration means you have no shame. Why are we not standing up saying, this isn't happening. You can't get an aspirin at school. And fucking Republicans wouldn't pay for sex changes at school anyway, because they don't want Americans to have health care to begin with. So this is lies. We need to keep our eye on the ball. Trump is ruining the economy. Trump is creating an oligarchy. Trump is a kleptocracy. Trump is an authoritarian. This is fascism. Let's not get sidetracked by sex changes in school that are not happening. And we need to stand up and say, stop it. Stop talking about this. It's not true. And I would love to just ignore the subject, because who would be dumb enough to believe this is actually happening? Unfortunately, there's a whole lot of Fox viewers and right-wing media echo chambers that think this is happening. So we need to stand up against it, because this is a lie. We need to stand together and fight. This man is incompetent. 25th Amendment, impeachment, Pam Bondi, Pete Hegseth, Howard Lutnick, Scott just go down the list. Trump leading the way. We need to get rid of these people. We need to have absolute democracy and not authoritarianism. Stick with us for more news.